at home, and we've seen them upset a few top teams in Auckland there. So, no, it'll still make for an entertaining match. I think the Chiefs have got to have their game what's about them.
Well, I don't know if they do play harder at home, Reno, but they at least are kind of ready to play, I suppose. Yeah, it's not been a great season once again for them, has it, Reno?
The Blues, they'll come and play for their fans, mate, at Eden Park at home. And, I think they've had a little bit better season than last
year. Yeah, a little bit.
They've had a bit better season. They're not being thrashed as much. But it's always going to be tough for the franchise like that. I just hope they do it for their fans, eh? I don't think the Chiefs will turn up.
True. Right, well, your Highlanders also, your Highlanders up against the Lions over there, which is going to be a tough one, isn't it?
Oh, it is. But, out of most of the Kiwi teams that do tend to travel to the Republic, notwithstanding the Crusaders, who are just like a winning machine, the Landers do tend to perform, and they're going to need to up against the Lions because, as we know, playing above altitude and you throw in the parochial, Springbok South African crowds, you're sort of not just playing the players on the field, you're playing everything else from the environment to the support. So, the my Landers, they're very capable of doing that, as they've proven throughout the last few seasons, even this year. They can topple some top sides. So, no, my money's still on them, Keithy. I think they can come away with the win.
And also, your Crusaders, they've got a game against the Stormers later on tomorrow morning as well. What do you reckon?
Well, it's my underground team, the Crusaders. They're in their third place at the moment. If they keep winning, they may knock out my Chiefs and Highlanders. But no, I think all money's on the Crusaders. In fact, you don't have to be a crystal ball reader to realise this is going to be another year for them. So once again, how they do win it will be the big question. They're just such an entertaining side to watch, and can you forgive me for wanting to jump ships and support the Red and Blacks? I think every rugby player in New Zealand wants to, but something inside that says no, stay true to your side, whether it's the Canes or the Blues. But I'll tell you, there's everything to like about the Crusaders team, Reno's team.
They've got a tough one today, tomorrow morning, I should say, though, Reno? Tough one tomorrow morning, away.
Oh, Ra's more consistent than the Warriors. They have, mate. I tell you what, I know Ra's going to be going to Reno Blacks all the way. I'm going to go the other team, eh?
Okay.
Because the wheels have got to fall off soon. Something's going to happen, and I would not be surprised something does happen and it upsets a few things. But no, I'll go with the South Africans. I've got to go with the underdog team.
Right.
But obviously, I know that my Red and Black will be too strong. But no, I'll be the outside and go with the underdogs.
You've just been weird and funny then, there, Reno. Just being weird and funny. Going for the other team, but knowing that your team's going to win.
I tell you what, I'm going down to the stadium and I've got my red and black jersey with me as well.
And that's what it is. That's what it is to be a Crusaders fan. You have the luxury of making mockery of everybody else and sort of playing with our emotions and our predictions. Because you just know how consistent this Christchurch team is, and you could. I'm going to put it on the line now. You could bet your life savings, your house on the Crusaders winning about 95% of the time.
Well, most of the time. Well, yeah, I guess so.
Well, better track record than the Warriors.
They've got the best track record in Super Rugby history, though, haven't they?
Oh, they have, and not just in rugby too, and quite a few sporting franchises and codes. Their success rate is so phenomenal that they've even had coaches from other, codes come over to try and find out what their recipe is, what the secret is behind their winning ways, and many have come, but not many have taken away what the secret is.
I think Robbie Dean's kind of set the... I don't know what it is myself there, Reno. I don't even know if you know what it is, but I think Robbie Dean certainly laid down the groundwork for the Crusader teams over the years. What do you reckon?
Yeah, you're mostly right, Keithy. It's the groundwork. That's the key to it. It's the passion to play for that red and black jersey. Look, this goes right back to Grizz Wiley days when Canterbury was strong. That history of Canterbury and Auckland, everyone remembers that type of stuff. The red and black up against the blue and white, the crowds right up by the field, right down to the last minute, the dying history of that type of stuff. The mentality that went from there to the Grizz Wiley era of coaching the All Blacks, how strong those men were. And they just kind of rolled out over the decades and again seemed to fold into Robbie Deans, who was a player under Grizz back in the day, him and his brother Bruce. So it's all been developed through that whole Cantab thing, and it just continues on. When you look at Robbie, moving on through to Todd Blackadder, again a former player, moving on through to Scotty Robinson, again a former player of teams that have been dominant in their time of playing as well, under the red and black. So it's something that's entrenched in amongst them as they come through. Young players coming on through. Most of those young boys down there in Canterbury who are playing some top-level rugby at school level, two things, red and black in the black jersey. That's only two things they're worried about. Their family support around them, if they've got the talent, it's all they're worried about. And to see that come on through, the growth of it down there. I tell you what, I've been in Otago last couple of days, and rugby down there is just nuts, let alone in Christchurch. So it's unreal down there. You get the feel of it as well when you walk into a local tavern, the rugby memorabilia around. So it's in them, and it seems to be a lot more stronger than some of the areas that I've been around up in the north, around the Waikato area, heading out towards Auckland area. Down here, where I am, it's everywhere. It's crazy. And I think that's where it starts. It's the people and the drive, and they've got the stadiums down here, like I was talking off here with you guys. It's just right in there. It seems to be the in thing at the moment down in the middle to the lower south of the South Island.
Now, JT, you'd, I guess, because you've been a Storm supporter pretty much from the get-go, and so you'd also have an understanding that, the groundwork that was set must have certainly helped the Storm, get through and win all the championships that they have done so well, JT?
I think the success on the field is definitely a result of the success off the field. You talk about the rugby market in New Zealand. Well, I'll tell you now, it's got nothing, absolutely nothing on the passion of the AFL in Melbourne. I mean, Melbourne, sort of 4.5, 5 million people.
Yep.
And 4,999,000 of them just love the tripe that is AFL. I mean, they're absolutely crazy. You see the crowds every week, Rugby or rugby league get a crowd in a normal game of say 30 to 40,000, and everyone's beside themselves with glee. But if they get a crowd of 30,000 in an AFL game, it's a failure.
Yeah.
They're regularly up in the 80s, 90,000 with their crowds, and I think that's one thing they do have over certainly over our sport rugby league is the tribalism that still exists between those clubs like Collingwood and Carlton, and Richmond, Essendon, the Bulldogs, a lot of those sides, and they are you're locked into who you support by virtue of your family. Yes. So if your family's always supported Collingwood, then you go for it. But so for the Melbourne Storm, just think that's a bit of a niche market there from someone who might be trying to follow a different team, or a team that's in a different competition, or a team that represents Melbourne and Victoria, and with them to do that, and they've done really well, let alone the stuff on the field. Rather, they've been quite successful, but to build momentum and to get die-hard Victorian fans to come to their games and actually support them as well as their own AFL team is a major success.
Yeah, obviously. But what about the success? Well, I guess that is part of it. In fact, it's got to be a huge part of it, JT? Like you said, the off-field success.
Yeah, put it this way: if the Storm had been a side that forms, like, and I'm going to use the Warriors as an example, if they'd been a Warriors type existence, it might have been a different story. So I guess success on the field has been key to what they've been able to establish and build down there.
True. That certainly sounds pretty right. What do you reckon, Rino?
Yeah, totally. You turn that around and look at the Broncos' success of back-to-back championships, and when they came into the NRL as well. Up there, they had some big star names coming into the franchise, everything like that. Everyone can run a couple of names. You think of the likes of, Steve Renoff is a name that I can just pull out of the hat and think these type of names that make the team and the franchise who they are and where they are. And obviously the wheels have fallen off. That's just one of those glitches, but everyone jumps on board, and JT's right. If you deliver the results on the field, it just paves the way for all the fans and the supporters and brings success and similarities to obviously the Crusaders and the All Blacks. So, yeah, that's just massive. It's just what it is, mate. The psyche of most people, sports people, eh?
Yeah, true. Now, I remember, I think it was you, that was saying, this might have been a couple of years ago, though, that the All Blacks was probably the most, or one of the most successful teams ever. Is that right?
Yeah, well, they're up there, Keithy, in terms of from maybe a national perspective, because as we've seen with a lot of codes around the globe, a lot of the sporting success and fanaticism or loyalty is based around a club kind of perspective, but from a national kind of look in, the ABs have been one of the more successful ones. But, when we're talking about clubs, you look no further than what JT said about AFL. It's huge. Soccer over in Europe, it's got just as bad a following, and I mean it rhetorically, because what comes with loyalty and passion is, we've had some nasty stories in those particular codes where fans will do essentially anything for their clubs, including putting their lives on the line. And I'm glad that rugby and even league hasn't gotten to that stage. Us as fans and supporters, sometimes we do know where to draw the line. We can be parochial. We can get a bit sort of, hard-headed, but we don't go to the extremes of some of these other sports where, they put life above the actual sporting event itself. So I'm glad in a way, but I'm sure that the money makers of like rugby and league clubs, they'd sort of like it to be the other way, because sadly that's what sort of, built up a lot of their financial coffers is getting people to turn up and fill those grandstands.
Now, Rino, you were saying, what was that, JT?
If you paid £50 to go watch a game, and after 90 minutes it was 0-0, you'd be pretty angry, wouldn't you?
Yes, I agree. And I think that's one of the differences with, because I guess, when you're watching rugby, you get the full satisfaction, or rugby league, you get the full satisfaction of feeling, seeing the hits, etc., and those emotions kind of don't spill out when you're watching soccer. Hey, that's what I reckon anyway. What is AJT? That seems about right to me.
Oh, 100%. I mean, there's obviously some skill level in
very much
football
so.
Or soccer.
Yes.
It doesn't have the man up, the full-on contact and the bash of our two games, and that's certainly what appeals to the primal instinct of us.
Yes. Males, absolutely. And that's what I think, they have these so-called firms over in Europe where they have gatherings and get-togethers to release those particular, emotions, and they get to bash each other too, apparently. So, that's part and parcel, I suppose,
that's
of the game.
That's why we put the breed in. You just sort of
absolutely
kind of use an example there. But yeah, and you're not wrong. I mean, the nature of the games does sort of play a part as well. And thankfully, the physical makeup of the league and rugby and American football.
Yes.
You as a fan,
it's contact.
You see them doing the hits, doing the damage on the field. So there's no need for you to sort of, vent your frustration, because that the players are going to do it.
That's right. The players are doing it for you.
Yeah.
Whereas in soccer, there is none. It's supposed to be a non-contact sport. So,
And then you throw in those Hollywood dives and it just becomes
exactly. And it just becomes frustrating. And obviously, you want to get together with your mates and go and bash up the fans of your opponent's team, don't you? So I don't know, seems to work out fine for me. So
it's called human nature, Keith.
Yes, exactly. It is. And I'll be honest, if I was like over in Europe, and if I was a football fan, I'd probably be one of those firms bashing up other fans as well, or getting bashed, etc. That's just how males are. Hey, that's what I reckon. Hey, Rino, what do you reckon?
Well, then you better stick to rugby and league. You're a violent man.
I agree. Anyway, now, Rino...
You need some help, Keithy.
But he's a psychiatrist or